I get this email from my agent. It says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. There's a little budget this time. Can you do this job for?" Do you ever get requests like that? "Oh, we wished we could pay you more, but the budget." It's like, when do companies ever say, "Budget? What budget? The sky's the limit. You can have as much money as you want." Never, right? It's always, "This time, I'm sorry, there's no budget." So you see, I come from multiple perspectives on this. As a business owner, and by the way, creatives and freelancers, if you have to think about your brand, clients, getting paid, you are in business. I'm also a published communications researcher and practitioner, and what my agents want me for is the voice of various companies such as Google, NHK, Nintendo, Hello Kitty. So I often wonder, how does this little budget thinking affect us? And how can creatives ask for what they're worth? I value my agent, and we have an honest relationship, so I explained it to him honestly this way. You see, these big companies, if they could, they get all of us to do the work for free. From the IT engineers, the designers, the graphics, the web, the voice artist, all for volunteer and, I shudder to say this, exposure. But these big companies' tight budget thinking doesn't just hurt the industry, it creates an even bigger problem. Depression. Beyond my mental health, this creates an economic depression. Their short-sightedness is affecting the global economy. So here's how it works. If the companies pay very little, it affects the whole economic chain. So let's say you're Mr. A, and Mr. A doesn't get paid very well. So Mr. A can't afford to buy shampoo from Miss B's store. Miss B's store, the sales go down, the owner gives her a pink slip and lays her off. And so now she can't afford to buy premium toilet paper for her family. Now she's got to buy the scratchy kind. Nobody likes the scratchy toilet paper, right? Then Mr. C's company manufactures premium toilet paper, but because sales have gone down the toilet, he now has to lower the prices on premium toilet paper, which sounds really good to you and me, except when the sales go down, he might have to lay off Ms. D. And how we're going to get out of all this economic drain is a Mr. E. A mystery we're going to solve together. And they would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling creatives. So I explained it to my agent this way. Only a handful of really skilled creatives get to work full-time as creatives. Because if we can't pay our rent, our health insurance, and pay for our pension, no one's creating a pension for you if you don't look out for yourself, we can't be dedicated. We'd have to get other work. So we wouldn't be available to do the work. What we may not realize, both on the creative side and on the business side, is that when we don't value ourselves by asking for what we're worth, it doesn't just affect us. It affects the companies, our neighbors, and everyone the buck doesn't get passed down to. So I asked around to my creative community, from designers, user experience, voice artists, branding and business coaches, and even to my speakers. And I asked them, do you feel you get paid what you're worth? Do you ask for more? And how do you know how much you should be paid? I was recently in the voice studio with a colleague, Sam, and it's an independent studio that often calls me up, but unfortunately I have to decline due to their low pricing standards. And I tend to prioritize my own projects. So I tend to negotiate my rates. And he's making it sound like he's booking all sorts of great gigs at the studio. Until I say, "Oh, I haven't really been here so much recently. I guess it's because I ask too much for my base rate." And he says, "Oh, you're one of those people." What? Yeah, I ask for what I want. Well, how about you? And he says, "Well, actually, to tell you the truth, I haven't been here more than twice this year." Well, how do you feel about what you're making? Well, we'd all like to make more money, but, and then he gives me a whole list of really good reasons why. And I'm going to call them myths. And I'll call them myths because I used to think the same thing too. And he said, if I do good work, the client will recognize it and pay me more next time when they have a bigger budget. When are they going to have a bigger budget? When? Never. They are never going to have a bigger budget if we devalue the industry. Do you know how budgets are made? It's a really simple calculation. Actually, it's a little bit more simple than this. It's how much did I spend last time and decrease that by however much I possibly can so we can do some other cool project. It's like thinking about your household utilities. You don't think about your electric bill and say, this month I spent $94 on my electric bill, but I'm going to increase my budget to $194 because the electric company did a good job. We are never going to change the budget if there's no compelling reason. So then this guy who's boasting about getting all this work says, well, I gotta build my body of work. And I get it. When you're starting out and you've got zilch, it's okay. But at what point do you build up enough work? That's what auditions, portfolios, and internships are for. If you are good enough to do the work, you're good enough to get paid. And then he says, I could do more gigs at lower rates and still make what I need to earn. Oh, yes, 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 equals more work, but at substandard wages. This puts you on the never-ending treadmill of overwork, overtime, which is overkill. You see, when you get into the industry, you could charge a base rate. As you acquire mastery, you increase your rate. And this is good because you're worth it. And your price distinguishes your quality. And it also allows others in your industry to come in at the base rate. And this is a very good thing because opportunities are like love. Love isn't finite like apple pie, serving only 8 slices. Love is infinite, like pi, 3.1415926, blah, blah, blah. See, I believe talent expands when you move up with love. So how do we come over these thoughts of more, more, more? You have to see yourself to value yourself. When you look at your CV or resume, you may see all the amazing things that you've accomplished, and you look at your body of work and think, oh, it's pretty good. But that's when the voice of doubt comes in, saying, you'll be found out. You're not smart enough. Maybe it was all just luck. Do you ever hear the whispers of imposter syndrome? Yes, even the most successful of us do. Here's how you get around that. Stop looking at what you've accomplished and start looking at how and why, because that's where you're going to start to find your value, the essence of who you are. We're going to do a little activity, so please take out a piece of paper and a pen. I'm going to ask you about 3 people. So go ahead and write down the names of 3 people in your industry. Maybe they're mentors, colleagues, friends, people that you respect. Write down 3 names. Got them? Excellent. Now, just circle any name at random. Circle one name at random. I'll choose a friend. Kimra is a mentor, a colleague, and a friend. Okay, so write down a list of words to describe that person. How would you describe that person? So, for example, Kimra is powerful, confident, self-made, creative. Go ahead and make a list. Maybe you'll find 6 to 10 words in there. Write that down. So here's the thing. When you look at your friends and your mentors, you can easily express how beautiful they are. But sometimes when we look at ourselves, all we can see are perceived flaws and imperfections. This activity allows you to skirt around yourself, to see yourself. When we're looking at our friends and our mentors, specifically the mentor is the person who we desire to become more like. That is the person, and especially as a creative, every morning you get to wake up and you say, who do I choose to be today? And that is how you evolve towards those character traits. Your friends are the people that you love, the values that you love, the core that you love about yourself. And that is what's going to come across in your value. When you're looking at those descriptions, can you see yourself just a little bit? Yes. That's right. And you can realize now that you are enough. You bring value. So now we've moved beyond looking at what you've accomplished, more to about how and why you accomplish. So now that you have that value internally held within you, you can start to ask respectfully. When you get an email that says, "Can you do this for..." Instead of saying, "No way, I'm never gonna do that." Instead, or even worse, you end up doing the gig and reserving your best, and the end product sucks. That is the worst. So instead, we need to think about that resistance. They say that resistance is the enemy of art. I believe resentment is the enemy of art. Resentment comes from not asking for what you need, whether you're in the boardroom, the drawing room, the bedroom. When you ask for what you want, you get more satisfaction. And there's an art to this. Instead of saying, "Hey, you pay me more," you can say, "I know you value my work. Could you make it," and insert any price you want? Because, and insert any reason. Robert Cialdini, in his research on influential behavior, says that if you add "because" following a request, people are more likely to do you a favor because of the extra work, because of the rush, because of my previous experience, because of the wonderful things she does. I've even gone so far as to write, "Could you make it the higher price? Because it really helped me out." Which by all reasoning is ridiculous. Help me out with what? Seriously? Logic, come on. But you know what? I have gotten it every single time. And here's the thing, never, ever threaten. There are hundreds of other people vying for the same gig. You have to be willing to say, "Let it go." You might be wondering, Soness, how much is that rate? And that's a good question. There's more calculations that can come with it, but really where it starts with is having transparent conversations with your colleagues. More importantly, knowing your value as you do now, you have to have your own walk out the door rate. And this is the rate where you're willing to put down your own projects to walk out the door to work on someone else's projects. Now for me, walking out the door is a pretty big deal. If I could, I would never leave my home office. But I'm focused on my end game. My end game is to grow my business. When I'm focused on other people's projects, I can't focus on mine. So you have to find a walk out the door rate that makes you push away the resentment and walk towards value and valuing yourself, making you feel valued in that gig. And you never, ever undercut your walk out the door rate. I've even gone so far as to question myself, well, it's only $10 less than my walk out the door rate. Is it worth the embarrassment of asking? Yes, it is, because I show myself that I'm impeccable with my promises to myself. I know my value. You gotta know yours. And lean in, because we're gonna figure it out together. Are you ready? See, here's the thing. Our bodies, our feelings, and our decision-making are all connected. As a communications researcher, I'm very keen about body language and what people's bodies are saying. And you know when you're at the dinner table and there's a pizza at the center, even for you as a kid, you're like, pizza in the center. When you want more, you lean in and reach for a slice. When you've had enough, or for the rare person who doesn't like pizza, you might lean back and abstain. But when you feel like you've had just the right amount, you sit up straight. Well, our bodies do the same things when we understand our own value and what we desire and our own worth. So we're going to figure this out together. So think about a project or a gig that you have right now. And think about your current price. And if you're working for a company, you might want to think about your salary, whether it's an hourly wage, monthly, or annual. So you can start thinking about that, because you probably want to get a raise right about now, don't you? Okay, so we're going to think about those prices in increments from 1 to 10. So the 1 mark here, the 1 could be any value between 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. If you're like my friend Kimra, 1,000,000. Seriously, girl's doing awesome. Okay, and moving it all the way to 10. So let's say, for example, we start off at 10,000. Number 2 would be 20,000. Number 3, 30,000. Number 4, all the way through 10, which is 100,000. Only 3 of you. I'm surprised the gambler didn't get that faster. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to think about the current project that you have in mind and also your initial price, starting with the ones digit, moving on, and we'll increase the price with each movement. So could you please join me by standing up? Thank you. Please stand up. Thinking about your current project right now, okay, and your current initial price. Got it? Got it? Excellent. Go ahead and please put your feet together and find where your balance is. We're going to calibrate together, thinking about that current project and your initial price. I invite you to feel the weight of your body and close your eyes. As you think about that project, starting off the initial digit of 1. 1. Feeling where your body is. Is it leaning forward? For more, leaning backwards, maybe you're bending over backwards for a client. Maybe it's in the center. Increase the price to 2. Feeling your body, might be swaying, might be leaning more. Is your weight on the toes, the balls of your feet, or the heels? 3, increasing the price again. Can you feel your body shift and sway? 4, increasing the price again. Feeling your body sway, shift, finding that center calibration. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you very much. Please open your eyes. So could you feel a difference? Yes? Did anybody feel a change in their numbers? Yes? Thank you. What was your change? Yes. 8. Is that higher than before? Higher. Well, congratulations. You're in for a raise. Excellent. Okay, let's give her a round of applause for that. Well done. You know your value. You can say it to the world. So say it with me. Everyone, I have value. I know my worth. I am worthy to be paid. And you are. Thank you.